Let's set a scene. It's the 1850s. You're in P.T. Barnum's American Museum.
Oh, right.
Just overwhelmed by the sheer volume of curiosities.
Yeah, wall-to-wall stuff.
Exactly. You've seen the taxidermy, the relics, the illusions. You think you're done, but then you spot this new sign kind of tucked away this way to the egress.
The egress.
The egress. It sounds exotic, doesn't it? Must be the new exhibit, maybe some rare long-beaked bird from a jungle no one's heard of.
Something special.
So the crowd shuffles forward, curious. You follow them down this simple hallway. Right before you're pushed out onto the cold cobblestone of the street. The door clicks shut, and to get back in, you have to buy another ticket.
Classic Barnum.
Right. That feeling, that mix of confusion, frustration, maybe even a little reluctant admiration. It isn't just a dusty anecdote. Barnum wasn't just tricking people. He was proving a timeless rule.
Absolutely. He tapped into something fundamental.
He understood that what people really pay for isn't substance. They pay for the story. They pay for the feeling of anticipation. Yeah. Even if the payoff is just a locked door.
It's pure psychology.
It's the same logic that can make a simple, despised potato seem like a royal treasure guarded by soldiers. Or a bottle of Bordeaux wine.
Yeah.
Oh, feel like a divine blessing, endorsed by the Pope himself.
And what's fascinating here is that the entire history of persuasion is essentially one long con dressed up as progress. Barnum's trick, that high-stakes maneuvering of audience expectation, is really the core thesis of this deep dive. Our mission today is to track that core concept, how spectacle, sheer audacity, and sometimes outright absurdity have historically been the most effective, the most sticky tools in marketing.
Right.
We are moving from 19th century confidence tricks all the way to the digital warfare between today's fast food giants. To see exactly what connects these outrageous yet undeniably successful attempts to capture attention. If you look closely, you realize that the most successful businesses are often the best storytellers, not necessarily the best product makers.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with what I can only describe as the most shockingly successful celebrity endorsement campaign in history. We're talking about Angelo Mariani and his famous late 19th century tonic, Vin Mariani.
Ah, Vin Mariani, yes.
So Mariani was a French chemist who decided to take fine Bordeaux wine and, well, liberally dose it with cocaine extracted from coca leaves.
Right. The late 1800s were a kind of golden age for health tonics, but this one really took the concept of restorative to a whole new level.
It certainly did.
And this wasn't a homeopathic dose designed for, a mild effect. The standard French version contains 6 milligrams of cocaine per fluid ounce of wine.
6 milligrams.
But recognizing the competitive nature of the American market, the export version was even stronger, dosed at 7.2 milligrams per ounce.
Wow.
Mariani marketed this concoction as a miracle cure-all, promising to restore health, strength, energy, vitality. It was basically an elixir for everything, from fatigue to poor digestion.
A real pick-me-up.
Exactly. The product wasn't necessarily unique, given the prevalence of patent medicines at the time, but the marketing was epoch-making.
I think we need to pause on that dosage for a moment. That's a powerful tonic.
Yeah.
But as you say, the chemical formula wasn't the real genius. It was the marketing blueprint, which relied entirely on borrowing authority, the sacred endorsement.
That's the key.
If you're going to achieve market penetration and establish a luxury image, why not start at the top?
Exactly. The strategy was to elevate the product from just another patent medicine to an indispensable cultural artifact. And the most outrageous example, the one that still defines the campaign, is the public endorsement by Pope Leo XIII.
The Pope? Seriously?
Oh, yes. The Pope not only publicly praised Vin Mariani's restorative powers, but he awarded it a Vatican gold medal and, even more importantly, willingly appeared on promotional posters for the wine.
No way.
Yes way. You had the Vicar of Christ, the most influential spiritual authority in the Western world, effectively doubling as a product spokesperson for cocaine wine.
That is astonishing. Did Mariani manage to parlay this spiritual capital into wider mainstream appeal? Because a Pope's endorsement is powerful, but it's kind of specific. Did he chase other types of fame?
Oh, he was a master networker, relentless. He applied the same celebrity playbook across science, politics, the arts, you name it.
So who else?
Other high-profile devotees included inventor Thomas Edison.
The Thomas Edison.
The Thomas Edison, who famously claimed the wine helped him stay awake longer to pursue his endless work. And President Ulysses S. Grant.
Wow.
Mariani effectively pioneered modern celebrity marketing by focusing on testimonials of productivity and success. But his initial highly strategic campaign was aimed directly at medical professionals.
Ah, clever.
He wasn't selling to the public first. He was legitimizing the product by convincing the gatekeepers, the doctors.
That's a sophisticated, multi-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Secure the divine, secure the political, and secure the medical. Smart.
Yes. Mariani recognized that authority sells trust. By 1902, he had amassed letters of praise from over 8,000 physicians and clients worldwide.
8,000 physicians.
But what truly solidified the brand's omnipresence was the sheer volume and format of his print promotions. He created his own literary magazine, Contemporary Figures,
Okay.
which featured biographical portraits of over 1,000 celebrities, including 3 popes and 16 kings, all linked by their supposed use of Vin Mariani.
1,000 celebrities.
Yeah.
All supposedly drinking this stuff.
That was the implication. And he printed and distributed over 64 million copies of this supplement, inserting them directly into major Parisian newspapers.
64 million issues. That level of saturation, distributed through the mainstream news media itself, effectively turned a promotional pamphlet into a perceived cultural directory.
Exactly. It established Vin Mariani not just as a drink, but as an aspirational symbol shared by the world's elite. It became the template for aspirational branding. If you want to be successful, if you want to be included in this esteemed club of kings and inventors, this is your entry ticket. That campaign proves that when you can borrow sufficient external authority, be it spiritual or scientific, the substance of the product almost becomes secondary.
The story takes over. Okay, so from the divine endorsement of cocaine wine, let's pivot to something far humbler. The despised potato.
Ah, Parmentier.
Yes, 18th century France. Antoine Augustin Parmentier, a pharmaceutical chemist who had survived on potatoes during the 7 Years' War, faced this huge cultural challenge. The potato was plentiful, nutritious, but absolutely despised.
He hated it.
Dismissed as low-class fodder, associated with leprosy, general disease. It was literally illegal to cultivate it in certain regions.
Right. And Parmentier realized he couldn't just use facts or scientific endorsement to overcome centuries of ingrained cultural bias. He understood the problem wasn't scarcity, the problem was value perception.
How people felt about it.
Precisely. He couldn't force people to eat it, he had to make them desperate to acquire it. So his solution was pure psychological theater, a brilliant theatrical gambit.
Okay, tell us about the guards. Here's where it gets really interesting, connecting back to that Barnum principle of manufactured anticipation.
So he convinced King Louis VI to let him plant a modest potato field on the edge of Paris, a highly visible, prestigious location. Very important.
Right near the center of power.
Exactly. Crucially, he then surrounded this field with a permanent contingent of armed royal guards. Now think about the message this sends.
Yeah. Why would the king waste valuable military resources protecting common pig feed?
Right. The site immediately signaled forbidden, immense value. Why else would it need guarding so heavily?
It transforms the tuber psychologically. It's no longer a despised peasant crop. Suddenly it's a royal secret, something worth having.
Exactly. But here's the key instruction. The guards were under strict orders to maintain a stern, aggressive presence during the day, making sure no one would dare approach.
Okay, keep out.
But as night fell, their instructions changed completely. They were told to accept bribes and conveniently look away.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously, the entire operation was a controlled leak. The goal wasn't to prevent theft, it was to encourage it.
So, the average Parisian who risks stealing this tuber has already invested psychological capital in it. They didn't just receive it, they risked imprisonment or royal displeasure for it.
Precisely. That risk, that act of transgression, transformed the potato overnight from low-class fodder into a coveted, forbidden status symbol. Once people risked something to obtain it, they valued it infinitely more than if the king had simply given them a free sack.
Wow.
This stunt fundamentally laid the foundation for modern scarcity marketing. Limited edition releases, high-end drops, members-only exclusivity. When you see a locked gate, your appetite is whetted, not quenched.
It's fascinating how these early stunts focused on generating desire. Let's pivot to a different type of social engineering. Creating an enduring cultural mandate. We touched on Barnum turning disappointment into a recurring sale, but sometimes the spectacle is designed for permanent societal change.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture of sustained cultural control, you have to look at De Beers in the late 1930s.
Diamonds.
Diamonds. They were faced with a massive diamond surplus and depressed markets. They needed to convince an entire generation that this product wasn't just valuable, it was culturally necessary.
More than just advertising.
They needed more than advertising. They needed ritual. The campaign launched in 1938 with the now iconic slogan, "A diamond is forever," was not just marketing, it was social engineering on a grand scale.
They successfully inserted the diamond into the mandatory ritual of romance. It became the only acceptable proof of fidelity and permanent commitment.
It was brilliant in its simplicity and its scope. The campaign embedded the diamond into the cultural script of adulthood and marriage in the Western world, effectively solving a massive geology problem, a surplus of carbon, by turning it into a priceless, non-negotiable cultural mandate.
They made expenditure equal commitment.
They successfully convinced people that the financial expenditure equated to the depth of their commitment. The slogan was so effective at establishing this benchmark that advertising experts named it the slogan of the century in 1999.
Wow. Okay, so we've seen manufactured desire with Parmentier, manufactured ritual with De Beers. Now, contrast these psychologically smooth campaigns with something, well, violently aggressive. Thomas Edison's brutal PR attempt in the War of the Currents.
Right.
This moves beyond selling desire and into pure damaging propaganda designed to breed fear.
Yeah, this raises an important question about where the line is drawn between psychological marketing and public manipulation through, frankly, terror. By the 1890s, Edison's direct current, his DC system, was being rapidly eclipsed by Nikola Tesla's alternating current, AC.
Right, the big battle.
DC was safer over short distances, but wildly impractical for powering cities. AC was efficient, but because of its higher voltage, was perceived as more dangerous.
And Edison hated that.
Edison, desperate to prevent AC from dominating the industrial power market, needed a spectacular public failure to prove that AC was inherently unsafe. Something shocking.
He decided to demonstrate this danger by weaponizing execution.
He did. The most infamous, highly coordinated demonstration occurred in 1903 at Coney Island. Edison's team publicly electrocuted Topsy, a circus elephant who had recently killed her trainer. An elephant, using 6,600 volts of AC. The sheer brutality of the act was compounded by the fact that it was filmed and widely distributed.
I filmed it.
Oh, yes. This was the turn-of-the-century equivalent of a viral smear campaign, intended to turn public shock and phobia into a reason to reject the AC system, equating the current with death and barbarism.
That is extraordinary. He used a public execution, filmed and circulated as a product demonstration against a competitor.
It just underscores the intensity of the commercial fight for electrification dominance. Edison knew technical facts wouldn't sway the average person. Only primal, visceral fear would.
Did it work?
Well, ultimately it failed to stop AC, which went on to power the world. But the story lives on because of the high-stakes, theatrical nature of the stunt. It shows that in the fight for market dominance, some pioneers believed that a spectacle of destruction was far more persuasive than a simple demonstration of efficacy.
Okay, let's fast forward from elephants and high-voltage wars to a far more immediate and, frankly, far more ironic crisis, one centered entirely on fried poultry.
Ah, the Great Chicken Crisis.
Yes. In February 2018, KFC in the UK faced what should have been an extinction-level event, a chicken restaurant running out of chicken.
The irony was just catastrophic. The UK is not only one of KFC's oldest markets, but is also Europe's largest fast food chicken market. The supply chain failure meant hundreds of stores had to close. Oh yeah. By February 18th, only 266 out of the 870 UK outlets were open. The public reaction was intense. Customers, unable to comprehend the logistics, were outraged. Some even resorted to calling the non-emergency police line to complain about the limited menus.
Calling the police about chicken.
Seriously, it was a corporate meltdown of the highest order.
What caused this fundamental existential failure? It seems unthinkable that a global chain could run out its core product.
Well, the root cause was a disastrous cost-saving logistics decision. KFC chose to switch its supply contract from their longtime partner, Bidvest Logistics, to a new partnership involving DHL and Quick Service Logistics, QSL, back in 2017. Crucially, the old system, Bidvest, operated with 6 strategically located resilient warehouses across the UK.
6 warehouses. Seems robust.
Right. The new DHL system, intended to streamline and cut costs, initially operated solely from one single, newly commissioned mega depot in Rugby, Warwickshire.
Our one depot for the whole UK.
One depot. That is the ultimate single point of failure, especially when dealing with perishable goods like raw chicken, which requires meticulous cold chain management.
Absolutely critical.
Precisely. The complexity of the operation ensuring chicken stays chilled and delivered just in time to hundreds of stores was entirely reliant on this single hub. And on the very first day of the new contract, the system crumbled.
First day.
Road accidents occurred near the vital motorway junctions around the Rugby Depot, causing immediate system-wide gridlock that trapped the delivery truck.
Oh, no.
With no alternative cold storage depots, the chicken quickly began to spoil. Staff training was inadequate for the new volume, and there were even regulatory hiccups because the DHL depot was being used before it was properly registered with the Rugby Borough Council.
Just cascaded.
Completely. They were apparently warned this could happen after Burger King experienced a similar crisis when they previously canceled their contract with Bidvest. They chased a discount and incurred a catastrophe.
So the logistical execution was a complete mess, leading to financial disaster and global mockery. How did they possibly attempt to recover, given the sheer absurdity of the situation?
Their crisis management was, well, a masterclass in controlled chaos. The strategy, developed with media partner Blue 449, deliberately swung away from the traditional defensive corporate playbook.
They didn't just apologize quietly.
No, it was guided by the 3 H's: humility, humor, and honesty. Their objective was a wide-scale public apology coupled with a brutally candid explanation. They made the crucial decision to acknowledge the catastrophe and absorb the public anger by being the first to mock themselves.
And that leads us to the iconic, deeply British print ad.
Yes, the legendary FCK ad. They took out full-page spaces in major UK papers like The Sun and Metro, reaching around 6 million combined readers. The image featured a flattened, empty bucket with the brand name rearranged into that controversial, slightly profane anagram.
FCK.
Very bold. It was a direct acknowledgement of exactly how their customers felt. A corporate admission of failure wrapped in a joke. The copy included the brilliantly self-deprecating quote, "A chicken restaurant without any chicken. It's not ideal. A huge apology."
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
That understatement is perfect. That self-deprecating humor and candid use of mild profanity is incredibly culturally resonant in the UK. It immediately deflates the anger.
Total.
It performs that reputational judo, turning brand suicide into a surprising breakthrough moment of authenticity.
And beyond the customers, there was a critical internal benefit. KFC's chief marketing officer noted that the ad fundamentally lessened the tension in the closed and limited stores.
For the staff.
Yeah, it provided an outlet for frustration, making team members feel supported and valued because the ad effectively directed the public abuse at the brand itself, rather than the frontline staff who were facing angry customers every day. It was an apology that served both external reputation and internal morale.
So from a pure PR perspective, it was an absolute triumph. Let's quantify that publicity success before we talk about the bottom line.
Right. The single press ad generated over 700 articles and achieved global coverage that most brands can only dream of, reaching more than 1 billion audience members worldwide within 3 months.
1 billion from one ad.
1 billion impressions. Data from the YouGov Brand Index confirmed the positive reputational shift. Positive attention the brand received skyrocketed from a pre-crisis level of 7% to 29%. Their overall brand impression score recovered rapidly, moving from a deep negative of -12 to just -1. Reputational damage was limited, and image was arguably strengthened by their honesty and sense of humor.
That narrative success is undeniable, but there's a duality here, isn't there? The crisis marketing brilliance masked a very real, very costly logistical failure that couldn't be fixed with a clever anagram.
Exactly.
Was the PR win worth a profound financial cost?
This is the essential long-term lesson. While the crisis communications were world-class, the operational reality was grim. Sales still suffered dramatically. KFC reported that overall same-store sales growth declined by 6.8%.
Gosh.
Because of the disruption, the company's overall turnover sales fell substantially, and profit after tax dropped a massive 27.8% between 2017 and 2018.
Nearly 28% drop in profit.
You cannot simply humor your way out of a fundamental distribution failure. The company was eventually forced to admit defeat and partially restore its supply chain by rehiring their original partner, Bidvest Logistics, to deliver to 350 key branches in northern England and Scotland, easing the strain on the single DHL depot.
They had to go back.
They had to. It proves that the logistics of the food business are a non-negotiable pillar, and cutting corners there has quantifiable, multi-million-dollar consequences, even if your crisis team writes a perfect apology.
That duality, the PR win versus the financial failure, is a great transition. Let's move from physical supply chain crises in print media to the digital battlefield, where the Barnum philosophy of performance art meets weaponized technology.
Right, the modern stunts.
The perfect modern example is Burger King's Whopper Detour campaign in December 2018.
Ah, yes, the Whopper Detour. This was a masterclass in strategic digital aggression and leveraging a rival's infrastructure. Burger King had a significant problem. Their mobile app downloads were lagging behind competitors.
You needed people on the app.
Badly. And they needed a spectacular mechanism to force adoption. Their solution, offer a Whopper for an irresistible one set.
One set?
But there was the catch, the theatrical component.
Yeah.
The deal only unlocked via the BK app when the customer was physically within 600 feet of a McDonald's location.
Wait, you had to be at McDonald's to get the Burger King deal?
Precisely. They didn't just target McDonald's. They essentially turned 14,000 McDonald's stores across the U.S. into a Burger King activation trigger. It's like using your rival stadium to host your own pep rally.
That is cheeky.
It's more than cheeky, it's genius. They strategically used geofencing technology to hijack their competitors' vast physical footprint. Customers had to actively participate in the prank driving to the Golden Arches, opening the BK app while standing in the McDonald's parking lot.
Right there, under the sign.
Placing the order for the competitor and then driving to a Burger King to collect their 1-cent Whopper. The entire transaction transformed a simple meal deal into a competitive digital game and performance art for the customer.
It tapped into that primal desire for a good deal, but also the competitive spirit, the joy of sticking it to the bigger rival. What were the tangible results of this high-tech mischief?
Oh, the stunt was explosively effective because it relied on the customer playing the part of the antagonist. It caused the Burger King app to rocket from number 626 to the #1 spot in download charts within 48 hours.
Number one.
Number one. They logged 1.5 million downloads, which increased their mobile customer base by a massive 33%. While the cost of selling Whoppers for a penny was high, the value of those acquired users was astronomical. Mobile sales tripled during the promotion.
Tripled.
And crucially for the entire franchise, the brand logged the highest number of store visits in 4 years. The campaign was highly decorated, earning 3 Cannes Grand Prix, recognizing it as a boundary-pushing use of technology to create engagement.
This level of disruptive, mischievous behavior isn't an anomaly for Burger King, is it?
Yeah.
It seems central to their modern brand identity.
It absolutely is their consistent strategy. They focus relentlessly on ridiculous short-term stunts that generate disproportionate media attention, earning them the 2019 Creative Brand of the Year award.
Like dressing up as clowns.
Exactly. Think about Scary Clown Night, where they gave free Whoppers to anyone dressed as the rival mascot on Halloween. They understand that in the modern, noisy media landscape, the story you tell is far more important than, say, product consistency. This strategy links back perfectly to the concept of spectacle driving attention, regardless of the predictable outcome, much like Taco Bell's great space gamble.
Ah, yes, the free tacos from orbit. That's a powerful connection to the audacity of the narrative scale. Tell us about that one.
So, back in 2001, Taco Bell recognized that traditional advertising during a major media event wouldn't cut through. They needed to become the event. When the Mir space station was set for re-entry, Taco Bell announced that if any piece of debris struck a massive 40 by 40 foot floating bullseye they placed in the Pacific.
A floating target in the ocean.
Floating target. If Mir debris hit it, every single American would get a free taco.
Every American. That's potentially a lot of tacos.
Billions, maybe. The outcome was highly predictable. Of course it missed. But the publicity was priceless.
So the brand tied its reputation to the fate of a decaying Soviet space station.
They did. The sheer absurdity of tethering their commercial fate to a random celestial event ensured maximum media coverage. They claimed it generated over 1 billion media impressions worldwide. The key is that the value wasn't in the successful outcome. They didn't want to give away millions of tacos. The value was in the story of the wager itself. They generated massive audience engagement simply by asking, what if?
And we saw a similar manufactured mayhem when IHOP briefly became IHOP. It felt like weaponized chaos.
It was pure manufactured outrage.
Yeah.
In 2018, the International House of Pancakes teased the public, media, and competitors that they were rebranding to the International House of Burgers. IHOP.
People lost their minds.
Totally. This generated weeks of speculation, mockery from rivals, and genuine customer confusion and outrage on social media. People were intensely protective of their beloved pancake house.
They weaponized that loyalty.
Exactly. When they finally revealed the temporary name change was purely to promote their new burger line, the result was incredible. Burger sales more than doubled.
That's a perfect encapsulation of the strategy, using the chaos and the potential loss of brand identity as the marketing tool itself.
They understood that in the crowded digital space, an earnest product announcement just vanishes. But weaponizing customer loyalty through a theatrical gambit generates instant, global, free publicity and drives product trial. It proves that in the noisy modern marketplace, absurdity trends.
Looking across all these examples, from Barnum's locked door to Burger King's geofence, the unifying principle is crystal clear. The most successful and memorable campaigns place the value not necessarily in the product's core quality, but in the audacity of the narrative and the spectacle surrounding it.
And what stands out to me is how often the most successful campaigns didn't rely on being sober or, committee approved. They committed fully to the ridiculous.
Right.
This isn't just about selling food or electricity. Consider the Guinness Book of Records. It started in 1955 because Sir Hugh Beaver, the managing director of Guinness, wanted to settle pub arguments about trivial facts, like the fastest game bird.
A pub argument started it.
A pub argument. They published a book of established official records. It quickly outgrew its original purpose, turning the beer brand into the official referee of human eccentricity, a cultural institution that made the Guinness name synonymous with the ultimate measure of the outrageous.
They became the record keepers of weirdness.
Exactly. The spectacle became self-sustaining, defining culture rather than just observing it. #tag outro. So as we close this deep dive, it's really undeniable that the history of persuasion is defined by spectacles, from Parmenteur's Royal Stolen Potatoes and Pope Leo III's Cocaine Tonic, to the candid humor of KFC's FCK crisis and Burger King's technological geofencing hacks. The brands and individuals who succeeded were those willing to step far outside the cautious, conventional norms.
If there's one enduring principle here, it's that cautious, sober, and conventional marketing just vanishes into the void. The earnest press release is forgotten by lunchtime.
Totally disappear.
But history rewards the memorable audacity. The willingness to commit fully to the ridiculous, whether that means using royal guards to promote pig feed or turning a massive logistics failure into a clever joke. Because if the world is still talking about the story, the brand has already achieved the crucial first victory. Total, undeniable attention.